The big news in the country right now is that the 2016 Appropriation Bill is now an act. The bill was signed into law by the President on Friday. We will bring you details of that report later. Welcome to the program, The Gavel. I am Lanre Lasese. Now, it has been a historic week in the House of Representatives as the sectorial debate commenced with 3 lawmakers appearing before the lawmakers. Now, the Senate looks into the growing cases of kidnapping in the country and how it can be tackled. Let's begin with that report.
The Senate has agreed to enact a law which prescribes capital punishment for kidnappers. Federal lawmakers adopted this recommendation after considering a report by the Joint Committee on Police Affairs, National Security and Intelligence on the unfortunate reoccurrence of kidnapping and hostage-taking in Nigeria. Presenting the report, the chairman of the Joint Committee said the committee in its findings observed that security agencies have not been able to effectively tackle the problem of kidnapping due to inadequate funding to enable them to procure modern technology and equipment. The committee also observes that there appears to be unnecessary rivalry among security agencies, leading to lack of synergy and intelligence sharing.
The committee recommended that the funding of security agencies should be taken seriously as a priority project, bearing in mind that the practice of envelope budgetary allocation for security agencies cannot have proved ineffective. That efforts should be geared towards creating employment opportunities for our human unemployed youth. The security agencies should embark on training and retraining of their personnel for effective capacity building. State governments should be encouraged to enact laws to enable security agencies to prosecute kidnappers and other crime-related offenses in their jurisdictions. The synergy and intelligence sharing among security agencies should be vigorously pursued. That the IG of Police and Director General of DSR of the State of Security in particular and other security agencies should be encouraged to do more.
The motion was then thrown open for debate. Federal lawmakers described the harrowing experiences which families of kidnapped persons go through.
The important thing for us to do is to discourage this kind of kidnapping by refusing to pay. Because those people who kidnap for money will never kill the victim. And once they know that people are not going to pay, it's most likely that either they stop the business or it will reduce drastically. So it is important for us, while the security agencies are doing everything possible to ensure that this does not continue, as individuals, as human beings, as citizens, we need to cooperate with the security agencies by insisting that we are not going to pay anything. Because once they see that the business is not working, it will either reduce or it will stop.
We must endeavor to come up with a proper and strict legislation that will zero in on ensuring that all states can enact their own laws, given the peculiarity of their environment, to arrest this law. Like the Yorubas will say, "Ọmọ mi kú, ó sàn ju ọmọ mi nù lọ." The literal meaning of this is that to have a lost relation is not as saddening or disheartening as somebody who lost a relation.
A federal lawmaker is advocating stiffer penalties for kidnappers.
It has gotten so bad that security agencies even are involved in the negotiation of ransom to kidnappers. Unfortunately, after release of kidnapped victims, we are not seeing much in the arrest and prosecution of kidnappers. Mr. President, I want to support the move on this floor that a more stringent legislation be agreed upon, where kidnappers will either die by firing squad or by hanging.
The Senate recommended that security agencies should embark on both training and retraining of their personnel to improve their efficiency.
The House of Representatives has once again taken a position on the crisis rocking the Kogi State Assembly, considering the report of an ad hoc committee that investigated a declaration by the Attorney General of the Federation on the resolution of the National Assembly on the crisis. Several resolutions were reached. Here is the report. The meeting of the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on the Kogi crisis with the Inspector General of Police. The committee also met with the Attorney General of the Federation. The lawmakers are to investigate the declaration by the Attorney General that the resolution of the National Assembly taking over the duties of the Kogi State House of Assembly is illegal. The House is now considering the report of the committee. A chairman of the committee reads out some of their conclusions.
To describe the impeachment of a speaker by 5 legislators and the filing of legal action by one faction against another as mere disagreement by the Attorney General shows a complete misunderstanding of the legislature and situation in Kogi State. In any case, the mere disagreement has made it impossible for the Assembly to discharge its functions under the Constitution, and a simple majority of all members is required for the purpose of making laws. Secondly, the Attorney General was misguided when he claimed that the suit Kogi State House of Assembly and 3 others versus the National Assembly was pending in court. Now, this is very important because one of the things he said was that, and that was his third ground, one of the reasons was that the matter was pending in court. The fact of the matter, Mr. Chairman, was that the matter he referred to was filed on the 15th of March. And we have the court papers. That matter was filed on the 15th of March, 2016. The debate and the resolution of the House was taken on the 9th of March. Therefore, the doctrine of lis pendis that the matter was pending in court, upon which the Attorney General relied in his letter, is not applicable. The court action came after the deed had been done. His third ground, in his letter to the Inspector General, raised a third issue, and he said that the resolution of the National Assembly was of no effect. He argues that the resolutions are only persuasive, and also that Section 11.4 can only be effected by a law or act of the National Assembly and not a resolution. In other words, what the Attorney General was saying, that for us to invoke Section 11.4, it had to be by way of law, not by resolution. He misread that provision of the Constitution.
He then reads out some of their conclusions.
Mr. Speaker, we arrived at 4 conclusions. First, that the Attorney General was wrong in advising the Inspector General of Police to reopen the Kogi State House of Assembly after it had taken over by the National Assembly by operation of law. Second, that the Attorney General has no powers, none whatsoever, under the Constitution or any known law, to reverse a decision made by the legislative arm of government, whether or not such decision was made rightly or wrongly. That the Attorney General erred by seeking to interpret the Constitution and acted ultra vires in doing so. The Attorney General, in seeking to undermine the legislature himself, said this, and this is very important. In his letter to the Inspector General, this is what he said, and I'm quoting verbatim. It appears to me that the determination by the National Assembly that the alleged impeachment of the Speaker of the House of Assembly by 5 members of the House of Assembly was null and void was an exercise of judicial power by the legislature, contrary to Section 6 of the 1999 Constitution, as it is a matter that should be determined judicially on the application of the affected persons. Matters of constitutionality are issues for judicial determination. That was what he wrote in his letter to the Inspector General.
The recommendations of the committee were then put to a vote.
That the Inspector General of Police should immediately reseal the Kogi State House of Assembly pending the resolution of the Kogi crisis. Recommendation 6, that all resolutions, laws, and action taken by the Kogi State House of Assembly from the date of the National Assembly resolution be declared null and void by operation of law. Recommendation 7, that the Governor of Kogi State should immediately send its budget and other executive bills to the National Assembly for consideration as stipulated in Section 11 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999.
The House has also directed the Attorney General of the Federation to immediately withdraw his advice to the Inspector General of Police. The lawmakers are also asking that both officers be reprimanded for undermining the authority of the legislature.